Yeah, hello everyone. Good morning. Myself Muralidhara Reddy. I'm a DevOps consultant and solution architect. I have uploaded AWS Zero to Hero series in my website callwithmurali.com. So in this particular course, right, I already included PPT and also documentation. So now we are discussing what are the topics we have covered in this particular course, what you will learn, and after completing what, how we can be managed in your organization, everything we can discuss now. Okay, fine. Now in this particular course, right, first we discussed about cloud computing, what is cloud computing, why we use cloud computing, types of cloud computing, and also types of cloud services is available. Okay, and next we discussed about AWS overview. What is AWS? What is the uses of AWS? What are the advantages of using AWS? What are the disadvantages? And also we discussed about like global infrastructure is nothing but regions and available zones. What exactly, which available zone, which what are the regions available, everything we discussed. And also how do we create a AWS account, and also we can see discussed about AWS console as well. Okay, next one is we discussed about IAM, identity access management. Remember guys, IAM is AWS backbone. So we discussed about what is IAM, what are the uses of users and groups, how do we create a users and groups, what are the types of AWS IAM policies available, and also IAM role, what are the uses of that one, how do we use it, where do we, how do we attach the particular role to the IAM, particular role to the EC2 instance, what is the difference between root account versus IAM user, and also we discussed about IAM password policy, and also MFA, multi-factor authentication, and also we discussed about the IAM best practice. Once we complete this IAM, right, you can easy to manage in your organization. How do we provide the permissions to specific users, groups, roles? Okay, depends on how you can restrict the specific permissions. How do we allow or deny? Okay, fine. And next, AWS CLI. In this particular AWS CLI, how do we install in Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, CentOS, Red Hat, and also Windows as well? How do we configure AWS CLI? I mean to say authentication, and also what are the uses of naming profile, and how do we use it? Okay, once you complete this AWS CLI, right, you will get to know how do we authenticate from your local to that particular AWS services, and also you can use any AWS related CLI commands. How do we use everything? You will get to know. Okay, fine. Next, AWS EC2. Yeah, what is AWS EC2? What are the uses of AWS EC2? What are the types of EC2 instances available? And also we discussed about how do we create a EC2 instance, Linux EC2 instance. How do we download putty and puttigen? How do we connect the particular Linux server? How do we create and connect to the Ubuntu server? And also how do we create and connect to the Windows server as well? And also how do we create a AMI from AWS EC2 instance? Whatever we created EC2 instance, right? How do we create a AMI? And also we discussed about Elastic API. What is the Elastic API? How do we use it? Where do we use it? And also what is the security group? How do we manage security group? How do we allow DNS specific inbound rules? Everything we discussed. And also we discussed about what are the options available in the particular EC2 instance. And also we discussed about metadata and user data. What is the major difference between metadata and user data? And also we discussed about the support with AWS ticket. If you are facing some issue, how do we raise the support ticket with AWS team? How do we take help from them? And also we discussed about request service quota. How do we increase the specific service request quota? Example, specific user, we can attach a maximum 10 policies. In case if you want to increase, we required a service quota. We need to raise the service quota. Okay, once you complete the EC2, right, you will get to know how do we use it, both Linux and Windows, Ubuntu. How do we manage inbound and outbound rules, the particular security group. Okay, and one more thing, one of the most important thing, whether you really work or not, they can easy to identify. Asking this question, how do we raise the ticket with AWS team? What are the uses of request service quota? How do we use it? Everything. Okay, fine. Next, we'll discuss about EBS volume. What is the EBS volume? Types of EBS volumes, and also how do we create a EBS volume? Okay, how do we attach the particular EBS volume to the EC2 Linux EC2 instance? How do we increase existing EBS volume? Let's take example. You have attached EBS volume to the EC2 instance 100 GB. In case if you want to increase, how do we do? And also how do we attach that particular EBS volume to the Windows server? And also how do we increase that particular EBS volume to the Windows? Okay. And also how do we change the type of EBS volume GPT2 to GP3? How do we do that? And also how do we create that volume from snapshot? And also how do we encrypt the existing EBS volume using KMS as well? Okay, once you complete this EBS volume, right, you can easy to manage in case we frequently receive the request from developer or DBA team. They may say like, hey, can you please increase the EBS volume, specific drive, either in Windows D drive, C drive, or else in Linux, we can call it as /SRV, /OPT, something like that. Okay, you can easy to manage in your organization once you complete this EBS. Okay, fine. And what is the snapshot? What are the uses of snapshot? How do we create the snapshot from EBS volume? Okay, how do we create the EMA from snapshot? And also how do we create the EBS volume from snapshot? Okay, and what are the options available in snapshot? Everything we discussed. And also how do we delete the snapshot values on EMIs? Okay, where exactly will be used, which situation will be create a snapshot, everything we will discuss. Once you complete this one, right, you will get to know how do we create a snapshots from EBS volume, okay, and also EC2 instance, everything, AMI, everything you will get to know. Okay, fine, right? Once next one is AWS AG auto scaling group. What is the uses of auto scaling group? What is the overview of the particular AWS launch configuration? Okay, how do we create the launch configuration and also launch template? How do we create the launch template? How do we what is the difference between launch template and launch configuration? You know, right? Launch configuration is already deprecated, but majority of the engineers moving from one domain to another domain. Okay, if they put a specific experience, right, they will ask question, have you worked on AWS launch configuration? If we say like no, they can easily identify, okay, this guy is not aware of this particular service, this particular launch configuration. Okay, so that's why I covered this topic as well. And also how do we create a auto scaling group using AWS launch configuration? And also how do we create, using launch template, how do we create the launch auto scaling group? Okay, and also how do we enabling CloudWatch monitoring for auto scaling group as well? And also how do we delete the auto scaling group? These are one of the most important because we frequently will be use the auto scaling group only, and we'll be create a both Linux, launch configuration and launch template. But a launch configuration is already deprecated, but a launch template we are using. Majority of the organizations are moving from launch template to launch configuration to launch template. Everything I have showcased in that our course. Okay, fine. And also what is the AWS ELB? What are the uses of AWS ELB? Types of ELB we have. What is the classic load balancer? How do we create the classic load balancer? And also how do we delete specific class load balancer? Okay, what is the target group? How do we create the target group? And also what is the uses of our application load balancer? Where exactly will we use it application load balancer? Okay, and also how do we create the application load balancer? And how do we delete the application load balancer? Okay, and also AWS network load balancer. What are the uses of where exactly will we use it in real time? Okay, and also how do we create the network load balancer? How do we delete specific network load balancer as well? What is the difference between application load balancer and network load balancer? And how do we attach that application load balancer to the existing auto scaling group? And also whenever you are creating new auto scaling group, right? How do you attach? Everything we discuss. Once you complete this elastic load balancer, right, you will get to know where exactly we will be use classic load balancer, application load balancer, and network load balancer. What are the types is available? Whether we will be use internet facing or internal, where exactly will we use it, everything we'll discuss. Okay, you can use it to manage once you complete this ELB related. Fine, I'm coming to the S3. What is S3? What are the uses of S3? Types of storage classes is available in S3. Okay. How do we create the S3 bucket? And also how do we upload objects in S3 either through AWS console or either through AWS CLI? Okay, how do we enabling S3 versioning? Okay, and also S3 bucket policy. What are the uses of that one? What are the uses of ACL? Where exactly will we use the ACL? And how do we encrypt the server-side encryption in S3 bucket? And also how do we deploy static web application in S3? And also what is the uses of CORS? Where exactly will we use it? Okay, and also how do we generate free sign URL in AWS S3? And also what are the uses of S3 bucket live configuration? Where exactly what are the uses of? And also how do we delete the S3 bucket? Once you complete this S3 bucket, right, you will get to know where exactly will we use the S3 and types of storage classes available. How do we upload from either CLI or console? And also you will get to know bucket policy, everything. Okay, understand, right? Fine. And next, one of the most important VPC. What is VPC? what is the CADR, overview and subnets, route tables, internet gateway, and also how we can discuss about default VPC, what are the options available, and also we discussed about how do we create a custom VPC similar to in real time. What is the NAT gateway and NAT instance? What is the difference between NAT gateway and NAT instance? How do we create a NAT gateway? How do we create the NAT instance? Where exactly will we use the NAT gateway? Okay, what is the purpose of that one? And also how do we delete the NAT gateway? Okay, and also we discuss about the what is the NACL, how do we create the NACL, and also what is security group, how do we create the security group, what is the difference between security group and NACL, what is the VPC endpoints, how do we create the gateway VPC endpoint for S3, okay, and what is the ENI, where exactly will be used, how do we attach the particular ENI to the EC2 instance, VPC options, what are the options available, and also how do we create the VPC flow logs, okay, where exactly we can store whether it is S3 or CloudWatch, okay, and also what is the uses of managed prefix list, okay, and also how do we delete the deletion of VPC. Everything we'll discuss in this particular VPC. Once you complete this VPC, right, you will get to know how exactly it will work VPC and where exactly will be create example EC2 instance, RDS, everything where exactly will be which VPC will be create, everything you will get to know same as real time. Okay, fine. Once you complete this one, right, you can easy to manage. If they ask question anything related to VPC, you can easy to manage and you can easy to explain, and also you can easy to manage in your organization as well if you get any issues as well. Okay, fine. And coming to the VPC peering, what is VPC peering? Types of VPC peerings. How do we create a VPC for VPC peering for intra-region with the same AWS account? Intra is nothing but same region. Okay, intra-region for different AWS account. How do we create and delete? Okay, and also inter-region VPC peering with same AWS account. Inter-region VPC peering with a different AWS account. How do we create and delete everything? Once you complete this one, right, you will get to know how do we set up the peering connection between two VPCs to access one VPC to another VPC resources. So remember, guys, if you know VPC, if you're not aware, at least VPC peering, right, they can easy to identify, okay, this guy is not work in real time, because VPC, at least basic idea VPC peering should aware, because in real time, right, we may have multiple VPCs. We may require to set up the peering connection, either VPC peering, transit gateway or transit VPC. At least you should have basic idea about VPC peering. That's why I have covered in our course, enter both AWS account, same account, different account, same region and different region. Okay, fine. And coming to the CloudWatch, what is CloudWatch? How do we create the log group in CloudWatch? Okay, how do we send the VPC flow logs to the CloudWatch group? And how do we set up that CloudWatch alarm for EC2 instance? If something happened, example, it was restarted, it was stop state, you need to get the notification. How do we do? Everything we discussed. Okay, once we complete this one, right, you will get to know where exactly will be use CloudWatch and where exactly what are the logs will be stored. Okay, example, VPC flow logs, WAF logs, okay, and also CloudTrail logs. There are multiple logs will be stored, where exactly everything you'll get to know. Okay. And coming to the CloudTrail, what is CloudTrail? Types of CloudTrail available, and how do we set up that CloudTrail logs sent to the S3 bucket, and also how do we delete? Once you complete this CloudTrail, right, you will get to know if something, let's take example, someone deleted a DynamoDB table. So you need to find out who has deleted. So those things we can check it in CloudTrail. Okay, fine. And coming to the AWS EFS, what is the uses of AWS EFS? Types of AWS EFS storage classes available. How do we create the AWS EFS? Okay, how do we mount the AWS EFS in EC2 instance? And also how do we delete the EFS? Everything we'll discuss. Once we complete this one, right, you will get to know how do we mount this particular EFS to the multiple EC2 instance. And remember one thing, guys, EFS is support for only Linux. For Windows, right, we will be use the FSH. Okay, fine. And next thing, what is AWS ECR? Where exactly will we use it? What are the features for providing AWS ECR? How do we create the ECR repository in AWS, both public and private? How do we push that particular Docker image to the ECR? Okay, how do we set up the lifecycle policy for ECR? And also how do we set up the replication configuration for ECR? Okay, once you complete this one, right, you will get to know how do we use it ECR and how we can store our Docker images, microservices Docker images in ECR. How do we use it? Where exactly we can use it? Everything will get to know. Okay, and the next one is EKS. What is EKS? Overview of EKS. How do we install AWS CLI and kubectl in Linux and both Windows as well? How do we create the IAM user for creating EKS cluster? Okay, how do we create the EKS cluster through console? And also, how do we connect to the EKS cluster? Okay, how do we deploy the sample application in Kubernetes? Everything we discuss. And also, how do we enabling the logging for EKS cluster? Okay, how do we delete the AWS EKS cluster? Once you complete this AWS EKS, right, you will get to know where exactly, how do we use it, where exactly use it. Okay, how do we manage EKS cluster, and how do we increase nodes, worker node, how do we attach, everything you'll get to know. And also, how do you deploy your application, sample application EKS, everything you'll get to know. Okay, fine. This is one of the, and also how do we upgrade the EKS cluster? Example, your EKS cluster from 1.29 to 1.30. Okay, how do we do? What are the prerequisites we have to be taking care? Everything we discuss. Okay, and next one, what is KMS? Where exactly use the KMS? Types of KMS is available. How do we create the KMS? And also, how do we encrypt that EBS value using KMS? Once you complete this one, right, you will get to know how you can use the encryption part for EBS value. Okay, this is also one of the most important, because in real time, right, we'll use the KMS for EBS value encryption purpose. And also coming to that AWS RDS. What is AWS RDS? Where exactly use it? And also RDS subnet group, parameter groups, option groups. What is the difference? And also RDS storage types. What are the types available? How do we create that MySQL in RDS? Okay, how do we install the workbench? How do we connect RDS from EC2 instance? And also, how do we connect the RDS MySQL from workbench? Okay, and also, how do we delete? Once you complete this one, right, you will get to know how we can use this RDS and how do we connect to the particular RDS. If something issue happen, if someone, I mean, example, DBA team is not able to connect, how do you troubleshoot? Everything you'll get to know once you complete this one. You can easy to manage it. And the next one is what is Route 53. Okay. And what is Route 53? What is hosted zone? Okay, how do we create the public hosted zone in Route 53? And types of records available, types of routing policies. How do we create the record in hosted zone? And also, how do we configure the logging for hosted zone? Okay, query logging. And also, we discussed about what is the difference between private and public hosted zone. How do we create the private hosted zone? And also, how do we delete the private hosted zone? Everything we'll discuss in our course. Once we complete this AWS Route 53, right, you will get to know like how exactly, where exactly we can use it. Everything you will get to know. Okay, this is the one of the most important Route 53. Remember, guys, if you say I'm not aware of Route 53, they can use it to identify, okay, this guy is not work related to Route 53. They may just learn and they're trying to get the job. Okay, this is the one of the most important service in AWS. And also SNS. What is SNS? How do we create the SNS and SES? Okay, what exactly, where exactly will we use SNS and SES? How do we create? Okay. And the next one is what is SES, SNS, SNS? Okay. And also one of the most important, ACM as well. What is ACM? Okay, how do we create the AWS ACM? Okay, how do we integrate ACM with the application load balancer? Okay. And the next one is how do we delete the ACM? Remember, guys, ACM also one of the most important service, because if you want to be maintain SSL and TLS certificate in AWS, we'll be use the ACM only. Okay, either we'll be create a public certificate or private certificate or existing imported certificate. Okay, these are the major three things. Okay, so now what I'm saying, right, without knowing this one also, they can easy to identify, okay, this guy is not work real time, because in all AWS related certificate applications, they will be use the AWS ACM only. Using this AWS ACM, we will be maintaining HTTPS, SSL and TLS certificate. Okay, fine. Now, final thing is AWS directory service. This is also one of the most important service, because the reason is whether you really work or not, they can easy to identify. Because why I'm saying, right, let's take example, you have a Windows server. Usually how you will connect when you guys are practicing, you will be use administrator credentials, but in real time, right, we will be use the AD credentials. For that one, AWS directory service. What is AWS directory service? How do we create the managed Microsoft AD? How do we join that particular domain to the EC2 instance? Okay, and also how do we join that particular managed Microsoft AD to the existing EC2 instance manually? And also how do we delete? complete this one, right, you will get to know how do we connect AWS Windows servers through AD instead of connecting through administrator credentials. This is the one of the most important. In real time, we will be use this one only. Either existing AD, we will be sync with this particular directory service, or we will be use the AWS directory service, and we will be store all the our users. Okay. Remember, guys, one of the most important. Apart from that, right, in this our course, right, I have included each service. I mean, I have uploaded AWS resume points, and also each service I have uploaded. I mean, let's take example EC2. I have uploaded EC2 related resume points, everything I have uploaded in this particular course. Okay, fine, right? One thing, right? What you have to do, right? Go to the Google and you can type it TechWall with Murali. Okay, here you can see that techwallwithmurali.com. Click this one. Okay, here you can see that particular complete AWS course, beginners to advanced. Okay, and here we have a different plans available: 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year lifetime access. Okay, if you currently, right, offer is going on for 1 year plan, it is 50%. Example, if you select the 1 year, right, just click enroll now. Okay, now here, 1 second. Yeah, if you see here, it is redirecting to payment gateway. Here we have a add coupon code. Click this one. Here you can give the DevOps 50 to get 50% discount. It means, right, if you observe here, DevOps. Okay. If you see here, DevOps. Okay. If you see here, usually it is $14 per year, but 50% discount if you use the DevOps 50. This is a limited offer only. You can use DevOps 50 coupon code to get 50% discount for 1 year plan. Okay. If you are facing any issue, right, you can reach out to me via LinkedIn, Instagram, Telegram, so that I can help you. Okay. Fine. Any questions? Okay. Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you in next video.